Russian Defender, you are up. Go for it.
So I know you like talking in circles and wasting everyone's time, but let's actually have a real conversation where we don't have a bunch of nerds talking. So first of all, let's get some Z's in the chat. Now, what do you have against Russia, number one? And number two, why did you mock Dogina's death?
We already have at least two nerds talking right now, though. Don't you feel
No,
like we've set
I'm
in the wrong
you're the
foot?
fucking colonizer. That's the problem, right? You have a colonizer mindset.
But am I a nerd?
Yeah, you're a fucking nerd, bro. You're a neckbeard.
Oh, are you
You're
a
a Redditor.
nerd?
No, I'm the king of Lebanon.
I see. The king of Lebanon. King. Wait,
Yeah.
why would a leftist support a monarchy?
King of Lebanon. So let me ask you a question. Why are you against Russia? Why are you against Putin? What's wrong with Putin?
Because I think they're cringe and gay. Why do you like them?
Well, because Putin's been running around liberating Ukraine from Nazis who've been killing Russians for 8 years. And the Queen just died, by the way, rest in peace, the Queen. You celebrate people's deaths. You celebrate Dugina's death. You're like pro-death. Why?
Because I'm edgy like an anime character.
Yeah, see, that's the problem, Vaush. You have no fucking pushback at all. You attack the top G. Listen, what's wrong with the top G?
You're throwing in too many root vegetables into your soup, my friend. The troll would be more believable if you stuck to one archetype.
Actually engage.
You have to,
because you've been boring the whole audience, bro. You've been boring everyone.
This is a common mistake in the drive to be as intolerable as quickly as possible. You jump into too many tropes. You jump through too many hoops.
All right. So let me ask you a question. Did NATO expansion cause Russia to intervene? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, and can you explain why?
Because Russia has demonstrated a willingness to engage in imperialism west of its border anyway. NATO's expansion was a pretext, but in reality, it seems like this was going to happen one way or another. They attempted to do this without direct conflict through Yanukovych, since he was a Putin puppet. But after Euromaidan, of course...
Yanukovych.
I'm very tired. Yanukovych. Wait. Anyway, after he was ousted, of course, you know, you annex Crimea, the Donbass gets invaded by Russia. So,
okay, so let's explain that. Let's go through that. Crimea and Donbass. So, did Crimea and Donbass want to be with Russia?
Well, I don't know what you could possibly cite to indicate that Donbass wanted to be with Russia, because every
it's simple, because the Donetsk people's... What were you saying?
Because every indicator available at the time of the invasion.
Actually, never mind. Let me cut you off. So here's the thing about Donetsk. The two parties in Donetsk are the New Russia Party and the Donetsk Political Party, both of which support either independence or Russia. They don't support Ukraine. So how come there's no pro-Ukraine parties in Donetsk?
What political parties?
You have the New Russia Party, which is annexation. They want annexation by Russia. And then you have the Donetsk People's Party, which is like they want independence.
Those aren't Ukraine-recognized political parties.
So what? There was a coup in the country. The sovereignty goes out the window.
Oh, I see. So you're telling me that the two viable political parties in the area that has essentially been invaded by Russia are pro-Russian political parties.
But those parties existed before the Russians came. That's my point.
Were those the only parties present in that area, or is it possible that the pro-Ukrainian people in the Donbass area have been supplanted somewhat by 8 years of Russian occupation?
So you think there's a bunch of pro-Ukrainians running around in Donbass, even though all the Donbass support Russians? Even though the military of Donbass is literally defending their land?
The military of Donbass.
If you support Taiwan, why don't you support Donbass? It doesn't make sense. I mean,
sure
Taiwan's not a country, it's a part of China. Taiwan, 就是中国. So how can you explain that?
Wait, did he just speak Chinese?
He probably knows a couple of phrases. I think he's trolling, though, which is a shame, because I think these questions are fine. It's just, you know...
oh, Vaush, don't pivot. Don't pivot.
Vaush, 1 second. So unfortunately, no Russia defender enough to know that he's not trolling.
Wait, wait, you're being real?
I am dead serious.
I wish you were trolling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've been like investing low effort because... Wait, really?
Yeah, I am dead serious.
Wow.
I'll say the shahada ashhadu an la ilaha
sure.
illallah
So yeah, wait, okay.
Rasulullah.
So we can roll it back a bit then. Yeah, okay. So to answer your questions, more or less in order. A coup did not take place in 2014. Yanukovych made an effort to start gunning down protesters after being informed to by Putin. He was ousted by a populist revolt. You have echo. Mute your mic while I talk, please. Which is, by the way, something any socialist should support, of course, a populist revolt, ousting a corrupt cronyist president being bullied around by an imperialist like Putin. Any political outcomes that should take place in the Donbass after the invasion by Russia in 2014 are null because they're literally living in a state of military occupation. This would be like arguing that there were 0 people who didn't support Hitler in 1939 because all the polls within Nazi Germany said that every single citizen of Germany supported Hitler.
Dude, do you
It's
just like
ludicrous.
rambling? Do you like rambling? Not answering
Shh.
questions?
As for the people of Crimea, the people of Crimea were generally more partial to Russia, but we still don't have any impartial information on their preferences, in large part because the polling that was done for Crimean acceptance of Russian occupation was only done after the occupation, and it was done by the Russians, you know, which of course skews the
Okay,
results
so let's
a
go
little
through
bit.
that. Let's go through some of the things you said. Number one, the coup didn't have enough votes. They were 30 votes short, and then they tried to kill him once he tried to leave the country.
I said populist revolt. What do you
So,
mean?
but it was pro-NATO. It wasn't communist.
No. The people of Ukraine. What do you mean the 30 votes?
Who are the people? The people in eastern Ukraine?
The people of Ukraine.
Who are the people of Ukraine? Who?
People in Ukraine.
Okay, but we demonstrate that Crimea and Donbass are different than Kyiv, correct?
It is true that different parts of the world are different from other parts of the world.
Okay,
yeah.
so let's go through that. You can't just say Ukraine is a homogenous entity because
I
why
never
this is
said
happening.
Ukraine is a
It's
homogeneous
because there's
entity.
pro-Russians in the east. That's why this is happening.
All right. Even
And they
if there
didn't
were
support the coup.
pro-Russians in the East, which of course there are always going to be some, that doesn't justify foreign occupation. Would you say then that the English had a right to reconquer Hong Kong, given the sentiments in favor of such a thing, after China broke its own rules for the 2 systems, 1 country thing, after England gave it back over to China? Should we be allowed to invade and occupy any country that wants to be part of the United States? A lot of countries want to be part of the United States.
Yes,
We're very powerful.
because I like the British Empire, so I don't have an issue with that. But here's the thing, Vaush.
Are you
the
sure
problem
he's
what you're
not
saying,
trolling?
Hold on a second. Here's the problem with what you're saying. You're saying Ukraine is like this homogenous revolution, but the people in eastern Ukraine supported Putin. They supported Yanukovych. And when you violently oust the leader, what do you expect them to do? You violated their democratic rights, so they turned away. What's the issue?
How is it a violation of democratic rights for some people in a country to not agree with the ousting of a corrupt leader?
And so then they can govern themselves. They don't want to be a part of the new leader.
Then why did Russia have to invade?
Because Ukrainians spent 8 years trying to kill them with Nazis and terrorists. That's why.
No, Russians invaded in 2014.
Right. Ukraine declared anti-terror operations in Donbass before Russia intervened. There were separatists there, but there were not Russian soldiers until Ukraine declared anti-terror operations.
The
so
separatists that were being funded and armed by Russia.
Okay, problem? What's the issue? Russia's supporting their people. What's the issue?
Gotcha. So your position is that it's okay for any empire to invade and annex a territory as long as some people in that territory want to be part of that empire?
No. The coup is an important factor in this. I think that if the people in Donbass wanted to just join Russia, sure, maybe that's not acceptable. But because there was a violent coup against the leader, of course they have a right to fight back. They have a right to defend their land.
What violent
They put him at gunpoint in Kharkiv. They try to kill him. That's not violent, Vaush?
The Yanukovych?
Yeah.
No,
Yanukovych. Say it right.
Yanukovych, he fled on his own, and he initiated violence against the protesters. If there was violence there, then maybe he shouldn't have, on Putin's orders, exacerbated conflict with the protesters.
Okay, so first of all, cops attacking protesters who are storming the parliament is like, I thought you support January 6th. I thought you support the Capitol Police.
They
don't
weren't
support
storming
the police
the
in
parliament.
Kyiv?
They started shooting people in the streets.
But I thought, January 6th is an attack upon democracy. Well, they try to attack democracy in Kyiv, so what's the issue?
Because they were shooting them in the streets, and the January 6th protesters physically occupied the Capitol building with the intent of executing some of our politicians.
Okay, and so did the people, they wanted to kill Yanukovych.
It doesn't matter what they wanted. What matters is what they did. And what they did was protest outside the building, and that is when the conflict started. They were not allowed to.
And by the way, does that even justify,
even
if I grant that, does that justify killing Yanukovych? Does that justify murdering?
Was he murdered?
And terrorism? They tried to. That's why he had to flee to Russia. You don't remember?
Wait, hold on. Yanukovych deserved execution long before Euromaidan. Don't get me wrong.
What?
They had moral pretext to oust that motherfucker a long time ago, that corrupt piece of shit. While his countrymen starved and he jerked off on his golden toilet in his mansion to inequity.
So
yes,
let me explain something to you, Vaush. So you don't like Yanukovych, but you like the man-child Zelensky, who's going to cause nuclear annihilation possibly in all of Europe and kill all of mankind. The man-child who's on Zoom calls calling for World War III, that's who you support?
Yeah, I do actually.
With sweaters on?
The end to the nuclear conflict?
Yeah, he's about to lead to the end of the world, which is why they need to negotiate with Putin.
Why is Russia the country that keeps threatening nuclear war and Ukraine isn't?
Because they're backed into a corner. They're not the Soviet Union anymore.
Backed into a corner by defensively invading Ukraine, and then when they
Yes.
start losing, they start threatening to nuke everyone because they're sad that Ukraine had more allies than they had money.
Yes.
Oh, well, that seems like a skill issue, to be honest with you.
Well, no, it's not a skill issue. Nuclear weapons are always on the table at the end of the day because Russia must defend its sovereignty.
Right.
They
We
must
should take
defend
them
the Russian
off the
people.
table for Russia. A
And-
CIA coup to get rid of your nuclear. To be fair, of course, you've probably long
If
since
you do a
sold.
coup against Putin, you will
Well-
see the response of the Kremlin.
The response of the Kremlin. You know what the response of the Kremlin was the last time we fucked you guys over? It was, yes, sir, America, sir. We put Yeltsin in charge. He got drunk and we raped your country, okay? Don't act like Russia has any
Wait, who's
power
Putin?
over
Why
us.
is here's the thing. All of NATO's against Putin. All the globalists are against Putin. Joe Biden's against Putin. But guess what? You can't stop him. The sanctions are freezing over all of Europe. We're marching towards Kyiv. We're marching towards Kharkiv. There's nothing you could do to stop us, Vaush. At the end of the day, your army of Redditors and nerds cannot stop the pro-Russians. Even if we're outnumbered 100 to 1, infrared is rising, know what I'm saying? So that's the reality.
I still can't tell if he's trolling. Uh,
Z!
Okay, well,
It's
thank
Let's
you-
get some Z's in the
thank you,
chat.
Russia.
Z! Easy W.
it's impossible to
Z.
tell because past a certain point, people take pride in their retardation. So they confidently march into all the shit that normally people would be embarrassed to say, you know? I don't
Yeah.
like conversations like that because I think that political debates are most fun when people like when there are stakes. Like the fun is in the thrill, right? Like both people come with sincere positions. And the challenge is to like navigate the conversation without your sincere positions being torn apart or for you being embarrassed for holding them. But if a person has zero investment in what they say and they're like proud of saying dumb shit, then there's no actual real stakes, right? It'd be like a person showing up to a poker game with Monopoly money and acting really confident whether they win or lose any hand because they're throwing Monopoly money at the center of the table. Anyway,
Yeah,
I guess what
exactly. I
I'm
think you're right. I
saying
think
is
that-
that person isn't just retarded. They're like a symptom of a kind of brain damage that will literally destroy the world.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that at some point there is like some kind of weird social clout to be gained by just being as aggressively obnoxious as possible, right?
Yeah,
Taking on
it's-
all the bad positions.
I pardon me for sounding like an old fogey here or whatever, but like, oh my god, it's like worse than it was back in the Gamergate days. Even the Gamergate skeptics would be embarrassed if they were proved wrong on something. Even the really bad ones, like Sargon or Teal'c or whatever. Like, if you had them in a convo and they were proven wrong on something, like they would clearly get uncomfortable because they like, it's like, they care about being perceived as correct. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just the old way of doing things, and now we're all just smashing our faces against bricks as hard as we can.
So that actually is something that I've been semi curious about myself. So what do you think about like people like Infrared or that whole crowd?
It's the lack of investment that gets me, okay? Listen, it's not that I have a problem with debating retards, okay? That's my bread and butter. Everyone who disagrees with me, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just kidding, a little bit on that. The problem is the lack of investment. It's performance art, right? Like, essentially, they're in a position where they can never lose a conversation because nothing they say and nothing I say will in any way change the positions held by them or the people who like them because it's all performance art. There's no like sincere investment of positions. In which case it's not really fun, right? Like there's no actual engagement taking place. It's just two people saying things in the same call. So that's the thing that really bugs me. I don't mind necessarily talking to the Russian propagandists or the fascists or whatever. I've talked to plenty. I have noticed though, I don't know if this is coincidence or if there's something determinative here. It's that this attitude of like nothing I say actually matters, everything is ironic, I will be stupid and it doesn't matter, haha, and then like at the end of the convo I'll just scream and leave. I actually see this more from the Tankies than I do the Nazis, which makes me wonder if this is like an actual worse breed of intellectual dishonesty. Not necessarily in terms of the negative consequences of the ideology, but rather in terms of like the degree of engagement. It seems to me symptomatic of a kind of ideological weakness. Like they know their positions aren't rooted in reality, so they have to turn it all into some kind of performance art in order for them to be heard by others, because if they try to sincerely defend their positions, they would get obliterated by even like passably competent rhetoricians, you know?
Yeah.